Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's episode, we are going to talk about Letitia James. I guess the Democrats and the Republicans are going tit for tat because they are really mad at Elon Musk. They're really mad at Elon Musk because he has basically went into uh, uh, took his job really seriously, and he's working efficiently, and he's doing what he said he was going to do because Donald Trump hired him to do that. Okay. Donald Trump hired Elon Musk to evaluate all governmental departments and to, I guess, uh, expose the fraud, use, and abuse on our tax dollars. And this is what he's doing. And Democrats are really upset. Now they're really upset because their tax is to find out the fraud, use, and abuse, or waste and abuse in the Social Security Department. We're going to review Letitia James. She had a press conference. I believe this was on Friday or Saturday or sometime. And right now they're going before the judge, I guess the circuit court, to stop Elon Musk from doing his job. And they're saying he has too much access to our information. And since he has too much access to our information, he should not be able to do the things that he's doing. It's the logic doesn't make sense. I could see our information being exposed, but that's not what he's trying to do. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. So you guys stay tuned for another episode of Business Talks.
Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
You guys put in the chat. Let me know where you're viewing from. Please put in the chat. Let me know where you're viewing from. I see we do have Tyrell Harris in the building. Yo, what up, Ma? Noble Young is in the building. What is good? Justin Thompson, it's always great to see you. Sahid is in the building. NBC Nation, definitely kerfuffle. Hit that like button, family. Thank you, NBC. Troy Upton, Democrats are scared of what Elon will find. Exactly. I believe there's some scared people that's really, especially with the Social Security, because they already revealed Social Security, probably about 35% of the payments are fraudulent payments. So it will be interesting to see who's receiving Social Security payments and they shouldn't be. And as a matter of fact, the last press conference Elon Musk and Trump had, and they were talking about the Social Security Administration office, and just the thing, they were only in there for one day, and some of their findings were they still had somebody 125 years old collecting Social Security. So we know there's no person on the face of the earth, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, especially in at least in the United States, that's 125 years old. And so that person is still collecting Social Security. So we got to wonder about that. Anyway, and Tyrell, thank you. The hardest working podcaster on YouTube, DBZ Nation, much love to you. Okay, so anyway, we're going to get started. I'm going to share with you my screen. And this is Letitia James. She held a press conference. She held the press conference. I think it was a couple of days ago. It wasn't too long ago. And what they're saying is New York AG Letitia James slaps Trump admin and Elon Musk with lawsuit over alleged treasury and data breach. That's what they're calling it. alleged treasury and data breach. You guys put in the chat, let me know if you could hear this video.
Order. And it's important that individuals understand that all 18 attorneys general who have filed this action seek to stop a private individual from accessing the private information of millions of Americans, their social security numbers, their tax information, their addresses. No one elected Elon Musk and his minions, and no one has allowed him to have access to this information. This is a violation of the separation of powers. The United States Congress, the United States Senate, has the sole discretion in having the power of the purse, and not Elon Musk. He has basically violated the Administrative Procedure Act, and he has violated the privacy of millions of Americans. And it is up to us to prevent him from having access to that private information. And so we've come together because we believe in the Constitution and the rule of law. And we believe that no one is above the law. And we believe that there are individuals, obviously, who should be prevented from having access to this law. The Treasury Department is responsible for maintaining the privacy of our information. The Treasury Department is responsible, again, for protecting our rights and our privileges. No one elected Elon. He's not been subject to any vetting. He's not been subject to any conflicts of interest. He has earned $20 billion over the last decade. He's the richest person in the world. And he has caused harm and injury to Americans. And that's why we are here today, to seek a preliminary injunction, to stand up against those forces who believe that they can unilaterally have power and have control, all in the hands of the President of these United States. It's important that Elon Musk, the Treasury Department, the President of these United States understand that that is not how our order of the Constitution works. And so I'm joined here today by my colleague, William Tong, from the great state of Connecticut. And I would ask him to say a few words as well.
I just want to correct that. You know, she's saying they didn't do a conflict of interest when he applied for, or not even applied. He was just appointed by Donald Trump, and he doesn't have the proper security clearance. This is what they're telling you. But anybody that actually came on aboard with Trump, they went through the proper channel. They had to go get vetted through the CIA or the FBI or whoever, security clearance. They had to be vetted to even get appointed. So, and this is what they do in your presidency without telling us. They don't tell you the president is responsible for electing or appointing approximately about 10,000 people when he's chosen and when he's elected. So essentially, if we're electing an individual, he's projecting this vision. He's telling us, this is what I'm going to do, X, Y, and Z. And then a lot of people are saying, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Well, since Donald Trump, this is not his first time to the rodeo, and he really admits this. The first time to the rodeo, he didn't know anybody in politics, anybody, the necessary skills, because his forte was real estate. So he didn't know anything about the military or not only the military, just governmental process. So what I'm getting at is we did elect Donald Trump to specifically do what he's doing. And on top of that, when Donald Trump was campaigning, he appointed and he told everybody verbally, hey, yes, Elon Musk is going to do this. Elon and actually Vivek stepped away because he said the vision of DOGE wasn't the vision necessarily what he thought it would be. But that's neither here nor there. Donald Trump was flat out, whether you agree with it or not, he put it out on Front Street saying, yes, Elon Musk will be over DOGE. And he was saying that since back September, I think September or October, since day one when they did the town hall meeting on X. I don't know if you guys remember that, when Donald Trump and Elon Musk had this town hall meeting, and it had 100 million views. And since then, he's been talking about DOGE and how Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will be over that. And we all know, if you follow Elon Musk, we all know DOGE is going to be created, evaluate all the governmental departments, then DOGE will be dismantled. It's not going to be sucking up our tax-paying dollars. And then another thing, you guys, Elon Musk is not taking a salary. They're worried about, oh, he might have your information. To do what with? Y'all po. We are po, and I'm saying P-O compared to Elon Musk. He don't need your social security number information. He got plenty of your information. He has 6 or 7 other companies that he has access to your information. Let's get it. Don't get it twisted. He has satellites in the sky. If he wants your information, he doesn't need to get into the Social Security Administration Department. All he needs to do is access code something in his satellite and to program into the computers and to hack your information. We're talking about somebody like that. So if he wanted your information and to do harm towards your information, he probably would have already did that. But that's not his plan. Okay? We already know his plan: to dismantle fraudulent waste, use, and abuse of our tax dollars. That's their whole plan. And I don't know why Letitia James is so upset about that. I don't even know why anybody would be upset about fraudulent exposing fraudulent waste of tax dollars. And as a matter of fact, there's an old video of Barack Obama saying the same damn thing. But Barack was trying to go through Congress to get stuff passed. And he was stonewalled. He didn't get nothing done. He didn't get none of this stuff done. He was trying to do the same thing your boy Donald Trump was doing. And he couldn't get it done. Because Letitia James said, oh, you need to go through Congress. No, you don't. You don't need to go through Congress. And they already proven that they don't. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for Tish James. Let's hear it for Tish James. Thank you, Tish.
Thank you, Tish. Thank you, Tish.
Let me thank Attorney General James, our colleagues, for standing together today here in federal court here in the Southern District of New York in defense of our country, in defense of the rule of law. We stand together to stop Elon Musk and his army of tech bro wannabe stormtroopers from tearing up the Treasury Department, now IRS, we hear, the Department of Education, and the federal government. Let me just frame this for you and put this in context. You know, you're going to hear a lot of legal arguments today. We're going to talk about the Constitution. We're going to talk about the Administrative Procedures Act. Let's put that all to the side for a second. What is this about? This is the largest data breach in American history. That's what this is, okay? Our job as state attorneys general is to protect and safeguard our states, the citizens in our states, from data breaches, to protect their confidential personal information, to protect our states and residents from cyber attacks and cyber crime. And what
they're using these words, data breach, cyber attack, and cyber crime. No, this is just like a federal employee having access to your information. This is the same thing. Federal employees have access to your information. Come to find out, some of these federal employees probably are collecting payments of their 125-year-old fake grandpa and getting Social Security checks. They have the same security clearance when they create profiles for a person that's supposed to be on Social Security of a dead person, mind you, and disperse checks. Those are the same people. So when they say data breach, they're using words that you could be like, oh my God, there's a data breach. A data breach is actually someone that will go into the system unannounced and uninvited, and they start using your data for something else, their own personal gain. That's not what this happening here. Okay, so you're going to hear that type of information or that type of language being used during this whole press conference.
What you have here, never mind Equifax and a data breach that impacted half of all Americans, never mind Change Healthcare, which we're still working through, which has impacted our healthcare system in this country. This is the largest data breach in American history. We're talking about Social Security numbers. We're talking about banking information. We're talking about addresses, biometric information, states and payment information, routing numbers, bank accounts. All of this puts all of us at risk, right? Puts our states at risk, puts the financial well-being of our states and our country at risk, and every person that lives in our states and our communities. And we're also talking about when they have access, not just read access, but read-write access to the central payment system of the United States of America, the Bureau of Fiscal Services, BFS. Right? We are concerned about payments to everyday Americans, Social Security payments, Medicaid, veterans payments to support our veterans, our first responders, police officers. This is what's at stake today. Not just the rule of law, but people, families who depend on the Treasury Department and on all of these payment streams and funding to support America, to support our states, and support the American people. Let me also say, we heard from the vice president who cast doubt on the role of judges. He said essentially that judges don't have the right, the power, and the authority to stop unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional actions by the executive branch and by the president. That is utterly false and untrue. Okay, judges have always had the power of judicial review for more than 200 years in this country. The Supreme Court said in Marbury versus Madison, when Tish and I went to law school, that's the first day. And J.D. Vance knows better. His first day in law school, he learned that judicial review is a bedrock, right? It's what keeps us free.
That's right.
Because if judges can't declare what the law is, if they can't say that a president or a vice president or an unelected person or Congress, if they can't say what the law is and they can't stop them from taking an unconstitutional and illegal action, then what do we have?
That's right.
Right? We have unchecked power. Congress, if the president could do whatever he wants, then Congress becomes optional. It becomes marginal. Our rights become optional. States become optional. And all we're left is with a president who can do whatever the heck he wants. That's not America, right? That's not who we are as a country. That's what we're stopping here today. And let me just close by saying, again, what I just talked about, judicial review, Marbury versus Madison, what we're going to talk about here in this courthouse today, those may seem like big concepts, and in many ways they're big 10,000-foot constitutional legal concepts. But what we're talking about today, every middle schooler in America understands checks and balances. This is about checks and balances. This is a check. This is a check on executive power run amok. This is a check.
And then, like I was saying, run amok, checks and balances, blah, 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 blah. Why in the world would majority of Americans, they really support this idea of overhauling the government to see what type of wasteful spending that's going on. Why in the world do you have an attorney general that's trying to just stop progress? You're just trying to stop it. She doesn't really have a basis for her claim. She's just saying, oh, they have access to our information. Okay, all the federal employees have access. If they work for Social Security Administration, they have access to your information. It's different levels of it, but they still have access to their information. So what is the problem? Oh, they have access to their payment system. They could rewrite the payment systems or rewrite the routing. Well, if someone's trying to cut government spending, why would they rewrite the checking account to route to their checking account? That don't make no sense. It doesn't make sense. I want to help with government spending, and I want to cut all the fat, trim the fat, like I did in my company. So I'm going to help them spend more money. I'm going to steal all the money that they're spending. It doesn't make any sense.
In the balance on a president who wants to do whatever the hell he wants. We cannot have that in America. And that's why we're here today.
Save checks and balances! Save checks and balances! Save checks and balances!
There's screaming. This is why I think this is so stupid. You're saying checks and balances, checks and balances. This is the problem. This is why we're here where we're at. That's why we have $33 trillion in debt. It's probably like $36 trillion in debt. I think every year we add $3 trillion to our deficit. But what I'm getting at is this is why we're in the state that we're in. We don't have a system of checks and balances, and we haven't had it in quite some time. Our debt and our spending has gotten out of control. The Congress don't even have checks and balances. And actually, it's Congress that's really raping us. I use the R word, but that's true. They're passing pork spending bills. Like, say, for instance, the border patrol bill. Reason why that didn't pass, because it was a pork spending bill. They add 900 other things that they want. Oh, I'll vote for it. You just got to add my little thing in there. Oh, I'll vote for it, but you got to add my little thing in there. So instead of one bill issue or one issue on each bill, they're passing these pork spending bills, and they've been doing that for the longest. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. So the checks and balances that they want them to use, it doesn't exist with Congress. Because number one, we don't have any checks and balances of how long you could serve in Congress, i.e. your girl from California. What's her name? They broke her hip. She need to be gone. Mitch McConnell, he about dead. He need to be gone. That's checks and balances saying, oh, you can only spend 10 years in Congress so you won't have insider trading knowledge and become a gazillionaire. They're mad at Elon. Elon made his money off the general public in the private sector. He didn't make money off of you, your tax-paying dollars. That's how Nancy Pelosi made her money, off your tax dollars. And making deals in the upper room or in the closed door to enrich herself and enrich her in their lives. And that's why they pass these bills that they pass, because they're patting their pocket. Just like Zelensky. They just met with Zelensky, and all the leaders, senators that met with him, they're giving him a standing ovation. For what? For spending our money? That man got $200 billion of our money. And then they mad at Trump because Trump said, hey, you're going to at least pay 50% of your elements. I guess they got natural materials that they could make money off of. And he said, we want 50% of those elements that you sell to pay us back for this $200 billion that we gave you. Why are they mad at him? That this just happened this week. And Zelensky tried to call out Donald Trump, like, oh, why you talk to Putin before you talk to me? Dude, this is not, you're not dealing with Joe Biden. This is not how it works. I talk to whoever I please. Okay, I'm trying to not cuss because my kids is home. I talk to whoever I please because I am the leader of the greatest country in America. And you're no longer going to do the things that you've been doing and getting away with. Congress is no longer going to be patting their pockets off of the American tax paying people. And that's what they've been doing. And so I don't understand why these people are so naive to the fact. I think something's wrong with them. Watch what Letitia James says.
And as attorneys general, we're not going to bow to the president or to Elon Musk. It's important that individuals understand that right now Elon Musk is untethered to any accountability at all. And the fact is that they would like for us to engage in an ideological litmus test. And that's why they've paused funds. That's why they have freezed Social Security and veterans payments, and payments to the state of New York and to state.
This is false information. False information. And this is where I wanted to get to. She's saying that they freeze Social Security checks and veterans payments checks. They freeze New York funds. Yeah, they did freeze New York federal funds, but it does not affect people that's on Social Security's, Social Security payments, Medicaid payments. None of those people are not receiving payments. False information. But this is why she shouldn't have a microphone. Because you're spreading misinformation, Letitia James, and you know it. And that's why I wanted to get to this part, and then we're going to move forward. Letitia James just lying through her damn teeth. She's lying. This is through Military Times, okay? This is a publication through the military. VA benefits won't be halted under. And you guys can see this, right? Just before I started reading. Okay, yeah, you can see it. It says VA benefits won't be halted under White House funding freeze order. She wants you to believe that the VA and military payments will be froze. It says White House official says VA financial assistance programs do not violate the rules of banning diversity and inclusion efforts. This was posted January 29th. They're not pausing any freezing anybody's account. Another, did Trump freeze Social Security? Furthering funding pause explained. No, they didn't. Let me get to Newsweek. See if it opens. This is Newsweek. Donald Trump ordered sweeping clampdown on government spending within days of entering the White House. An internal memorandum sent on Monday by the Office of Management and Budget ordered federal agencies to pause all grants, loans they have been approved through government. Some people are concerned with whether that means Social Security and other vital payments will be blocked. Federal agency must temporarily pause all activities related to obligation or disbursement of federal financial assistance. Social Security benefits are a vital source, and estimated 50 million retirees are collecting monthly payments. In Social Security impacted by the federal grants pause? No, the memo specifically outlines nothing should be construed to impact Medicare or Social Security benefits. Why is Letitia James on national news saying they paused Social Security and veteran payments. Why is she on the news saying that? And clearly, that's not why would they do that? Unless you're a 125-year-old man. Unless you're a 125-year-old man out there living a dream, you living somewhere. Gary Williams, these two clowns, AG, don't have jurisdiction over the president of the United States of America. Exactly. Lily is saying 53 million worth to New York. They froze, but they won't talk about the women's kids that died on the street. But they complain about $53 million going to illegals. Yes. I think this was in Detroit. The woman was living in her car because she went to the shelter. They said all the beds was filled. So her and her 5 or 6 kids was living in her town country van because all the beds were taken. We know they were illegals. They turned away her, but the illegals, they didn't turn away. All the illegals had the bed. They live in their hotels, but they can't give this lady a house or a home or a voucher. So Section 8, something. But you accept somebody from somewhere else and you can't help this lady out. And she lost 2 children because they was living in the van. Yeah, that was New York. New York. Yeah, Lenny, you were New York. And she trying to start a riot. Exactly. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about this. And they're crying over $53 million that they halted halted to go to New York for illegals. And they're mad. They're mad as hell. I think they're going to be really mad once they see this. This was decided this morning, I believe, or maybe Sunday. I guess Elon Musk is, he's like, okay, if they're going to stop our progress, we could do other stuff. I could work in tangent, while we're trying to get the Social Security Administration Department all squared away. We're going to evaluate. We're going to evaluate to make sure the gold reserves are still there. I bet you guys, let's have a running bet. I bet you the gold reserve, I think it's supposed to have like 4,200. How much do we have in gold reserves? No, we're supposed to have 8,000 metric tons in gold reserves. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying, and they're supposed to go to the reserve to audit after Paul Rand invites Musk to review for Knox. This is what Rand Paul, he was on Fox. If it plays.
All right. So this morning,
you guys, let me know you could hear this in the stream.
Talk about going for the gold. Elon Musk and DOGE setting their sights on the country's largest gold reserve, Fort Knox in Kentucky, as its own senator reveals that $425 billion of a gold supply doesn't even get a yearly review. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joins us now. So, Senator, I didn't know there was that much money there. And I was even more surprised that there's been no review.
Well, you know, I've been trying to go down and see the gold, make sure it's all there for about 10 years. During the first Trump administration, I got permission. You have to get permission all the way up to the Secretary of Treasury. And then the Secretary of Treasury said, well, I want to go down there too. And then he said, I want to go down there when the eclipse is coming through Kentucky too, so I can see the eclipse and the gold at the same time. But they came when I wasn't there. So I tried for 10 years. I set up the appointment. And then because they wanted to see the eclipse, they changed the appointment. I didn't get to go down. But the Secretary of Treasury and the senior senator from Kentucky did go down and attest that they believe they saw the gold down there.
So what do you think the problem is?
You know,
I wouldn't put it past, the Secretary of Treasury was Steve Manchin. That's the guy who was a movie producer. And he's kind of sketchy. This is Donald Trump, and Donald Trump then put him back in place. But he's kind of sketchy because he stole a bunch of money from taxpayers and just normal everyday citizens by giving out these what do they call it? Over when your house is worth one thing and they overvalue your market. So he overvalued the loan, giving out 120% loans to people, then foreclosed on their office or their mortgages when the economy went bust back in 2007. You know who was over that case? Your girl. She this is what she bragged about. Kamala Harris was over that case, and she didn't even prosecute Manchin. They end up getting away. She said she fined them like $20 million, but they got away with a bunch of money from these people. All these loans Steve, I think his name was Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin, he was over that bank at the time. And they got away like a big fat rat. And, your girl got paid. That's why half of the people don't like her. Because they could have got prison. They should have got prison time. And no. Instead, they just slapped them with a $20 million fine. And they got billions of dollars from these people. So anyway, what I was getting at, if Steve Mnuchin was at the time, I wouldn't put it past him. He probably got a bunch of gold bars in his pocket because he's dirty too.
I think some of them may not think it needs to be audited all the time, but I think the more sunlight, the better, more transparency, the better. Yeah. And also it brings attention to the fact that gold still has value, and implicitly, not explicitly, but implicitly, gold still gives value to the dollar. Yeah. That's why we don't get rid of it. We've got it. The IMF has it. The World Bank has it. Most of the central banks around the world have gold, and it's an implicit trust that the dollar still has some backing.
So, Senator, I want to switch gears with you. I want to talk about since we're talking about money, the GOP budget resolution that is apparently in jeopardy over concern from the moderates as well as Democrats about the budget. Talk about it. I mean, you are your father's son, and so I know you've had these objections to it. What are they now?
Well, this year, the deficit's going to be $2.2 trillion. In March, both parties will come back and probably spend $300 billion more in California for wildfires, and it will be borrowed, not paid for. We just spent another $100 billion in North Carolina. It never seems to end, and we don't borrow it. So what I would say is for border, if you want money for the border, take it from somewhere else in the budget, but let's don't have a new spending bill. So this budget is setting up a new spending bill, and ultimately this year there'll be a $2.2 trillion, and people will be scratching their heads saying, what about all the cuts? What about all the things? The DOGE committee, Elon Musk has found billions of dollars. The way you save money, and it has to be done, is they send it back to Congress in something called a rescission package, and then we vote on it with a simple majority. So Republicans alone can cut the spending that DOGE is finding, but they're doing a great job, and they're going through it with rapidity, but it's got to come back to Congress. If I started seeing that, I might be more inclined to go along with them.
I'm almost out of time, but I got to quickly ask you, why aren't you in the room? Because as I've said, you haven't changed your position. You're still reasonable, though. You understand you're not going to get everything. I believe your support of a bill will get some of the folks in the House. You'll get Chip Roy, you'll get Thomas Masse's support if you were involved in the negotiation. So I think Thune has been doing a fairly good job compared to McConnell. But why haven't you been involved with the negotiation?
I've told the negotiators from the very beginning, if they want my vote, they have to talk to me about the numbers. They have to be believable numbers, and we have to adhere to them. If the numbers in the budget resolution will be adhered to by the Appropriations Committee, I could be inclined to support the budget. But so far, I've seen no indication. For example, there's $1 trillion difference between the budget document and what we're going to spend this year. So it becomes a fiction. And if it's not honest accounting and they're not honestly going to do it, I don't want to vote for a rubber stamp that actually leads to increased spending.
I think that's fair. Hopefully they bring you in, because I think some good can be done. Senator, thanks so much for giving us some time this morning.
Well, I think Letitia gonna be mad about that too. She's gonna be mad that Elon Musk has access to the gold if they even have any gold. Okay, that's if they have any gold at Fort Knox. Okay, but they said they don't evaluate that every year. You guys put in the chat. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with Donald Trump's tactics, just allowing Elon Musk to do what he's doing? What should be the next step? It sounds like the next step. Okay, we found fraud, waste, and abuse in these companies or these entities of government. We need to shift it to Congress, saying, hey, we need to expel or terminate these branches of government or these entities of government, so no longer they could use this entity to, funnel cash through, like the US aid. So I guess what I'm saying is, okay, what would be the next step? And do you really agree with what they're doing as far as evaluating the spending? Okay, so that's all my time for today. You guys, I really appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. Tomorrow we'll be on our regular scheduled time around 1 o'clock tomorrow. And so make sure you tune in. I am sending all my good to you. I will talk to you tomorrow.